Looking back and understanding what you might have done differently is a source of strength. Awareness is a currency of sorts. But being sorry for yesterday, dwelling on the days gone by, that is a waste of time. See, those feelings of discontent, the emotions that rise to the surface as our minds sort through that catalog of regret. You know, the emotions that try and pull you back down into the very moment in which they occurred. If you let them lead you by the hand back into a manufactured hell, they will. And down you will go, reliving an expired pain that you can neither prevent nor do anything about. After all, it is the past. But alternatively, if we can do one of the hardest things for humans to do, which is depersonalize the occurrence, remove the emotion, and find the value, you stand face to face with an advantage in life that is exponential. Not only are you refusing to be defined or tortured by yesterday, but you're creating a framework by which you can actually use that pain to make a better right now. You're acknowledging that your mistakes are not indicative of a current reflection in the mirror. They're not metal bars keeping you closed in. They're opportunities in disguise. A friend of mine once told me, from our pain comes our purpose. From our despair comes our hope. It's from the times we got it oh so completely wrong that we can now arm ourselves with the ability to get it right. To be better and faster and stronger and wiser. The reality, or life in the big city as the saying goes, is having to fall in order to rise again. Because if nothing falls, there are no ashes from which to rebuild. We change when we've lost. We evolve when we're cornered. We become more when life shakes our worldview. There's power in this suffering. That is, if you choose to find it. And that's always a decision that's ours to make. Again, those same memories that can pull you down if you let them can also be used to elevate yourself higher than you've ever been. There's a saying that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% what you do about it. And when you think about it, it's obvious. Because knowledge is only as powerful as our willingness to put that knowledge to work. Yesterday's pain, its lessons, can be the very reason you transform, evolve to a higher version of yourself, but that's only if you stop using those lessons as an attack on your self-esteem. And start seeing them as the gateway to tomorrow. Otherwise, they'll remain that ball and chain around your ankle. Is the mistake that cost you your business, maybe the inaction that fractured a relationship, a swing and miss that hurt your pride somewhere along the way? Are they going to remain sources of pain in your mind, mental images or reflections of where you fell short? Or are they going to fuel the comeback, the sequel? When we fall, we're given one of life's greatest gifts, a part 2. Armed with the knowledge we otherwise would never have had. Armed with an understanding that with the failures comes the strength. As I've grown, I've placed more and more emphasis on thinking. How do I perceive myself? Because when that slips, life is never too far behind. But when you capture and maintain a healthy perspective, things seem to improve along with it. Not because thinking makes it so, but because how we think prompts how we act, and how we act changes our lives. It's that simple. So the question, okay, that happened. Now what does it mean to you will always be crucial. What are you going to do about it now will always be imperative. And if you look, you'll find that opportunity everywhere. I was thinking recently about all the books I've read, all the podcasts I consume, and there are a ton, right? But how valuable is that information if I don't act? How much could any of it mean if it's consumed and then forgotten? A memory with an image and a title. I'd be better off reading one good book a year, listening to one podcast, and injecting that wisdom into my life immediately, acting on it, using it to manufacture momentum. Right? If the acting is more important than the knowing, why have I not placed greater emphasis on the action? Like 90% more emphasis. And I think that's a question we should all be asking. And so let's move from the book example back to the thinking, reminiscing about our mistakes, the times we let ourselves down. What are our memories, if not just little novels, where we, as the main characters, embark upon the hero's journey? Warriors called to something greater, leaving a previous world, facing our demons, learning about ourselves along the way. Perhaps cut short, left without a conclusion, only in need of an ending. And these painful experiences are essentially us walking around with novels unfinished in our heads. We've done the work, we've learned the lessons, endured the pain. And rather than continuing to revisit that discomfort of the moment, that stopping point, rather than dwelling on how we shut the book after the conflict occurred, let's open it back up and integrate that value, that lesson into the present. Let's grow from it. Let's evolve because of it. That's what's so beautiful, so exciting about the future. It hasn't happened yet. It's in your control. You're painting that picture now in real time, and so how convenient that you fell yesterday. Now you have an opportunity to be stronger today. And how incredible that you learned what actions or inaction was not in line with the person you want to be. Now you have an opportunity to root all that out. And how beautiful that you felt the pain of quitting, of stopping short, of throwing the towel. Now, as you push forward into that great unknown, you have a reminder, a benchmark to compare with the difficulty of the present moment. You can silence the voice in your head begging you to slow down because you now know what the alternative looks like. To put it simply, you are not the same person you were yesterday. Specifically because of what you've been through, you have those mistakes to thank for the meaningful road you will travel. And let that be the expectation. We don't get through life without mistakes. There is no perfect journey. And the ones who move courageously into the future know that more than anyone. Life pushes back. The world has a say, and sometimes that means we must be humbled along the way. It means we swing and miss. It means plans fall apart. But you will prevail. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. Because you perceive the adversity as merely a cost of admission, specifically because you don't let it run loops in your mind. Rather, you extract the value and transform it into momentum. You are not your past. You are what you decide to make of your past. Empowerment is knowing that you have control of your life. That you create the expectations and you carry them out. Whether it be tomorrow, in a month, in a year, or even longer. It's knowing that the image in your head is the standard. It's fact. Because when you leave the door open, when you leave the door to your ambitions cracked, even the smallest amount, the realities of the present moment, they find their way in and they create dissonance. They want you to see, they want you to be intimidated by the gap between what you have and what you want. And truly, the greatest gift I've ever given myself is to start every pursuit knowing that whatever I'm chasing, whatever it is I want to obtain, it will be reality. It's possible. Period. That's my starting point. All I have to do is connect the dots. No questions, just steps. So there's a certainty that I possess as I move on to the next level. And as a creator, whether I'm creating for, my YouTube channels, collaborations, clients, it doesn't really matter. There's a common theme, right? And it's that the world can't see the image you have in your head until you complete it, upload it, share it, email the final result. You know what the outcome will be in a way that just can't be expressed or articulated. It can only be shown upon completion, and you must be the one to show it, by the way. The reason that's so significant is because there's no difference between making a film or realizing a dream. Either way, there's no rewards, there's no applause, there's no assurances until you're done. Until you've crossed the finish line. Just like a client can only point to things they've seen as a reference point, well, the people around you, they only know the present moment. They only know how things are. And so it's borderline crazy to put those opinions on a pedestal, right? To absorb that criticism, to adhere to those rules. They navigate around the now, the present, not the future, not where you're going, right? Who cares about the now? You'll just be looking back at it as you make your way on to your next goal. See, all this circles back to those dots that need to be connected. Because the places you're going, the things you're becoming, they require three things. The understanding that all problems have solutions, the certainty that you will find them, and the persistence to power through. That's all. That's the mentality that will put you in a position to do anything you want. It will empower you. It's not that the people around you are dumb or that the world wants you to fail. It's just that placing your fate in their hands is meaningless. To discount your dream based on how things are, or the opinion of someone else, is like a pilot worrying about airspace he's already flown through. Or asking the random dude in seat 22B to fly the plane, right? They are passengers on the journey, a journey that is worth the climb, that will be rewarding, that is waiting, but you have to be the one to see it, and you have to see it before the world does. You have to believe it before anyone else will. Because you'll build brick by brick on a foundation that the rest of the world would simply walk right by. Why? Because right now it's not a skyscraper with a beautiful architecture, 50 floors and an incredible view. Right now it's an ordinary plot of land that no one would think twice about. So remember, yes, it's possible. Yes, there is a way. And when we focus on the vision and connecting the dot in front of you, the world opens up. Be your own biggest fan. Learn to cherish the sound of your own applause, because that is always what must come first. What is the difference? When I think back to the first time I deviated from my comfort zone, my routine, I lost the certainty in my life. And as much as I wanted to go back, I remember telling myself, one more day, just one more day, until someday became the current day, and that made all the difference. Day one, starting my company, I remember turning the camera on and feeling so lost saying words into a microphone that I almost didn't press record. But I did. Until one day I realized not only was it bearable, it was my purpose. The vehicle that transported my thoughts to the world, and that made all the difference. During the times when some of the projects I invested the most time and energy into flopped, I remember almost saying, this isn't for me. But I kept creating. I kept creating until I found that intersection of what I love and what adds value to the world, and that made all the difference. What's crazy is how small a decision that difference seems in the moment, how insignificant the decision feels as one stands and looks out from their doorway. The difference between going and not going, stepping out or staying in, making the move or waiting one more day. That difference is sometimes disguised in a cloak of triviality, but do not be fooled. The little decision to move forward, to hang on when your ego is screaming at you to just let go, walk away, find some semblance of comfort and predictability. Those decisions to endure in the moments of hardship are what we come to look back on as the turning points that reshaped and redefined life as we know it. The courage required to make the call, release the video, register the business, send the message, reconnect with that loved one, deviate from what your friends are doing. All those things, they may seem small enough now to spend a minute or two thinking about before moving on to our routines and what we are comfortable doing. After all, it's easy to disregard the small things, but the acorn that becomes the oak tree is small. We must, along with the current reality, see the potential in what those things become. And sure, there are times where the present and the ideal are so different that it seems almost incomprehensible. But how do we get there? We get there by making the little decisions that will ultimately make the greatest difference. You are always one decision away from that evolution. So next time you find yourself looking down at the step in front of you, the step you know in your soul is the right step, remind yourself, yes, it sure would be easy to walk away here. It sure would be easy to turn back. Yeah, it's just one tiny step. But in totality, it's exponentially more than that. It's the lifeblood of your new reality. The water to your seed, the oxygen to your lungs, the crossroads in front of you will be, with your permission, the beginning of something larger than life. It will ultimately be the difference. Greatness comes from humble beginnings, from grunt work. It means you're the least important person in the room until you change that with results. See, ego tells us that we need success now. It replaces action and progress with a false sense of reality. We fall to pretend stories and made-up visions of who we are, but they mean nothing. Talk means nothing. Even a child knows how to gossip and chatter. Anyone can do that. What's rare is silence. The ability to deliberately keep yourself out of the conversation and subsist without its validation. Silence is moving forward and creating every single day. Ego is the enemy of what you want and what you have, of mastering a craft, of real creative insight. Because it takes what's most important and deems it insignificant. The struggle, the uncertainty, the doubt, the things that not only light the path to success, they are the very foundation success stands on. These things keep us humble. They make us students. They show us that the best never stop learning, because with certainty comes the death of creativity. As Richard Feynman states, you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. When you fall into the trap of seeing recognition as the goal or status as the finish line, you will fall short time and time again. Triumph lives in a purpose much larger than yourself, from a focus not on being but doing, on driving toward a target, revealing a simple question: are you doing what you set out to do? Are you willing to endure what most aren't? Put in the hours and hours that go unnoticed, the struggle that goes unrecognized, and the incremental progress that goes unseen. Are you willing to let go of ego and become the best possible version of yourself? Where is your finish line? What is your maximum effort? Think about that question. What is your indication that you've hit your peak? It's an interesting question, because when you look closely, you'll find that there truly is no answer. Right? People point to fatigue, being tired, maybe they're happy with the result. But it still leaves the question unanswered. What is your limit? There's no automatic mechanism that shuts us down when we've given everything we have, when we've done all we can do. It's not like a glass of water that reaches the top and overflows. For human potential, think bigger. Think of an ocean. How many buckets of water could you pour into an ocean before it couldn't physically hold any more liquid? What is the number? No one knows exactly. You can stop at 1,000 buckets, at 1,000,000, at 1,000,000,000, but at some point, you'll have poured the last bucket and stopped. And the question remains, at that moment, could you have added one more? That is human potential. It's mind-blowing. Every time you've thought you've given your all, you were lying to yourself. And not in the sense that you weren't trying hard or what you did wasn't important, but in the sense that you artificially created your own finish line. You determined your stopping point. Not the laws of nature, not some unearthly being. You dictated your limit. I had an old coach who used to reference Roger Bannister. He was the first person to break the 4-minute mile, a feat that at the time was simply unheard of. So what happens? He accomplishes this goal, and suddenly people start doing it all over the world. Rapid fire. In a very short amount of time. Why? Because it became real. People had living proof that it was possible. 4 minutes, what is that? It's an artificial stopping point, a self-created limit. It does not exist. Just like the reason you think you can't write the next best-selling book, or the reason you go to a job you hate every day, because you've settled. You've limited your potential without even realizing it. Why would you cut yourself off there? There's so much more to obtain, so much more to achieve, so much waiting. Man, life is just too short to not make the most out of it, to get in the way of your own greatness. Why would you decide to wake up every day and not feel like it was the best gift possible, not take advantage? Why would you limit that for yourself? There will be times when you struggle, there will be tough days, there will be times of self-doubt. But let it all fall to the wayside. See past it. Your destiny lies far beyond any self-made wall. Take that with you.